Everybody, this is Tyler Heavens coming to you from Women's RX headquarters. We're going to talk about dealing with exes right now. There's no dream man who can magically fix your negative experiences from your previous ex. One of the most pervasive and harmful myths perpetuated in our dating culture is the myth of the magical dream man. The dream man suddenly flutters into a woman's life, and her mere presence has such an effect on him that he gets fixated on her character. The dream man's hair and build is so perfect, his presence is so captivating, and it elevates himself to a very respectable emotional level. He's the envy of all guys' girlfriends and all girls' guy friends because he has this magnetic pull. And that's one thing that these guys have who are notably called the dream man. But please, there's no dream man. There's no dream man out there who will magically make you a trifling man or make a trifling man act right. The not so subtle subtext that men reinforce with this myth is that they have his exes and his exes love them, and he knows this. The problem is that he would have treated them much better except for the fact that he doesn't think that much of himself anyway. When a man or a woman meets a guy and kind of sees that he has this magnetic force with women and even men, it doesn't mean that he feels that way. A lot of the time, the same man, he has a low self-esteem, but that's what he works with. And that's why, sadly, he's so willingly bestowing his virtues on every new lady to every next lady, and hopefully possibly to a life partner. It's important to recognize the game being played, and the game being played is to make you jump through hoops by a dream guy for a man who's not even acting like a dream man. And as I've said before, you deserve better. He's most likely trying to lay down with a new girl while he keeps you on the side, because that's what he's done before. The same scenes, the same attitude, the same thought, the same admissions about his bad behavior that he did before, which make him look like a bad boy. Because women do like a bad boy. So at what point do we say it's the man's problem or the female's problem? I think that women, unfortunately, more or less at a younger age, can get caught up with a guy who acts like that. Men proclaiming, "I'll straighten up for the right woman," that is pure conjecture. They are not practiced at being good men. How would they be able to figure it out all of a sudden? I think we both know the answer to that. He can't. But he will say that he can. He will say that he can. They don't, / they won't, / even call it, either from a birth or teaching from planet Earth. Deep inside you think that they want to change, but the fact of the matter is that they don't. I've known a lot of guys like this. They're born too good looking with the brain that's not big enough, and they don't know when to call it quits, and they don't know how to accept the right girl or reject the wrong girl, either from at birth or from teachings from being on planet Earth. Men like this never change. I've known many. Most of my life, my best friends were male, and sadly, they followed a tragic road of lying and infidelity. It's hard to pinpoint when it started, but there was always repercussions on the sides for both men and women. It is sad but true. There's always been a way to break this negative cycle, and as much as we love our friends, we can't change someone else's negative words or positive words, or we just can't change that. That's impossible. All we can do is provide support. I wish there was a better solution to this problem, because I've lost a lot of friends through this in many ways, but it never ends up working out well. Most of them don't change that much. Even for a woman that they say that they so-called love, even with the best of intentions, leopards can't often change their spot. Internal changes takes years of deliberate work and practice. If he's practicing not being a dumphead, then there's possibly a formula to fix this. He won't be consistent at being a good man, but if he's not practiced, then he can't be a good man, so it starts somewhere. The fact is, if you do something often enough and it becomes a habit and it becomes your character, then you can change things. But if you're not going to put the work into changing it, it's not going to change. Some of you will bring up how your ex married the next girl after you, or is consistently on Instagram with this new babe. Is this proof or is it true? Is it lies? We don't really know, because people can go online these days and post things more often often to make them look good. And a term that you know about, I'm gonna call them F-boys. F-boys who treat their new girlfriends to all the things you wanted but never got to do so with you are desperately trying to prove you were the problem all along. They want to make sure that you recognize it was your problem and not theirs. But the fact is, they're just manipulative. And that's a fact. I've had so many friends and they're all fixated on going on IG or TikTok and making sure that they can look as bad as they can, even when they're at the lowest part of their life. It's almost backwards. What better way to never take responsibility for their actions than to conspicuously lavish a brand new woman with all the praise, but yet acting stubborn, unconcerned, and comfortable even during the worst of the times? Because the whole thing is just an act. It emotionally brings you down. Men like that completely bring you down. It's easier to blame you and pedestalize the new girlfriend than to admit failure or recognize themselves with the fact that they were the bad guy in the situation. Because everyone wants to see themselves as the hero and not the villain. Plenty of guys are in marriages with women they're not that committed to. Plenty of men are in marriages that they're not committed to that destroy them on purpose because they just want to get out. But when they're posting on IG or TikTok, they'll be telling you about how they didn't do anything wrong and it was an amicable split. We both know it was an amicable split. He was doing things on the side, whether it's drinking, drugs, some other addiction. It could be anything, but that's usually not what happens. The fact is, he still got the same character flaws just like he had last month, just like he had last year, just like he had 10 years ago, just like he had last night, just like he had in the morning, just like he had when he was passing out the other day. There's a thing called backfooting. The disturbing new dating trend men don't want you to know about. I think the only way that you can really judge anybody is based on how they treat you. It is conceivably possible that they value this new girl more than they did you. But if this was the way they were and the way they treated you, it was still wrong. And we can bet that they were behaving in the exact same way in a very tumultuous relationship that you had with him at the same time. And that's just a fact. And honestly, you just can't always blame yourself for the ways that other people act and the way that other people treated you. And honestly, you just can't always blame yourself for the ways that other people treated you and how they act. Usually it has a lot more to do with them than with you, because they have their own personal injuries that they need to sort out, and you were never in a position to solve that, especially if they're the type of person to be abusive, always look for the ways to improve themselves, but they never do it, but they talk about it. So recognize this, always look for the ways to recognize your own value, because the only person that can trust you is you. The only person that trusts your value is you, and trust me, you do have a lot of value. Thanks so much for listening. This is Tyler Heavens coming from Woman's RX headquarters. Thank you so much. Send me a comment, give me a like, give me a sub. Thanks so much. I hope you heard this, because you're